Boruto is back, and he's changing the fate of the future. Yeah, that's at least the title that best describes this chapter 21. Thanks to Kashin Koji, because he's the one who created the scenario where Sarada finally gains a new, extremely overpowered ability. But as the price, Yodo's life is the cost at stake. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the full spoilers of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 21. Without further ado, let's start this spoiler from the top. Chapter 21 is all about the Mangekyo Sharingan, with Sarada featured on the cover. After Sarada managed to unlock the potential of her power in the previous chapter, thanks to Yodo revealing everything about Sarada's deepest emotions, this chapter begins with a flashback to the past, where Sarada and Chocho are having a conversation. Sarada shares that her dream is to become a Hokage, just like the 7th Uzumaki Naruto. However, since Sarada's dream seems too ambitious and difficult to achieve, Chocho responds by saying that it's a goal that's hard to reach. She even admits that she's more interested in finding a boyfriend and wonders if there's a handsome guy out there waiting for her or not. Anyway, after Sarada reveals her dream of becoming Hokage, she also recalls a few moments with Boruto. More specifically, the moment when Boruto said that he has a dream of becoming like her father. That is, becoming the shadow of the Hokage. In other words, if Sarada becomes Hokage, then Boruto would be the one standing beside her, helping and protecting her. Sarada also recalled Naruto's remark that in order to become Hokage, it was necessary to accept the fact that everyone in the village was like family. Even Sarada also remembers a flashback to the Omnipotence tragedy, starting from Kawaki, who was fed up because Sarada continued to prevent him from killing Boruto, Shikamaru, who believed that Naruto's disappearance was absolute if he had died by Boruto, Mitsuki, who was bloodthirsty to kill Boruto and asked Sarada not to prevent him. And even Sarada also remembered when her father told her that Sarada could not blame those who believed in the reality that the fact that Boruto was a killer. And Sumire, who at the time had also assumed that the tragedy that led Boruto to be accused of murder had everything to do with Ida. Everyone fell in love with her, and in the same way something happened to everyone. But at least this flashback almost shows some of the events in the past during the Omnipotence tragedy. And after Sarada's flashback, there's another one, this time featuring Sasuke and Boruto when they were on the run from Konoha. Sasuke tells Boruto about Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan. At that time, Boruto's eyes were bandaged due to severe injuries caused by Kawaki's attack, leaving them badly damaged. Then Sasuke said that Sarada had just awakened a variation of the Sharingan that was passed down among the Uchiha clan, and it was able to awaken due to extreme mental shock. At the same time, Sarada told Sasuke that Boruto had done nothing wrong and that he was not the one who killed the 7th Hokage. Everyone had been lied to. Although Sasuke at the time was afraid that it was true, but with the awakening of Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan, it was enough to prove that although the reality was different, Sasuke thought that Sarada's words were the real truth of something that had happened. And that is absolutely something that surpasses human logic. But thanks to the awakening of the Sharingan eye, Sasuke thought that the eye would be very helpful later. Yeah, even though Sasuke himself suspected that Sarada herself hadn't realized that she had awakened the eye. But there will come a time when she surpasses herself and she will realize instinctively what her power is and what she can do with it. And after this long flashback, we return to the fight scene between Sarada and Ryu. Ryu was shocked to see the sphere in the sky that sucked up the iron sand. He even wondered if that was the ability of an Uchiha Sarada, but because Yodo was dying and would most likely die, Sarada asked Mitsuki to help Yodo and Araya immediately, and also Sarada asked Mitsuki to focus on protecting himself. But even though Mitsuki was shocked to see Sarada's eyes, she told Mitsuki not to worry, because now Sarada knew that she had just gotten that power, and also now she understands what it is and what she should do. And yeah, Ryu still looked confused and didn't understand what was going on. Even more anxious and scared, he was now even more confused about what he should do, because at the same time, there were 4 spheres sucking on his iron sand. But something impressive happened when Mitsuki saw Sarada and Ryu floating in the air. The force was like gravity, and most likely between Sarada, Ryu, and the iron sand was under its influence. And as Ryu's body seemed to be more and more strongly attracted by the sphere, Sarada revealed all the thoughts that she had been suppressing. She felt that she had been blindfolded from the truth for a long time. She also felt anxious because her goal of becoming Hokage seemed very far away. There was so much that Sarada said that it made Ryu not understand what she was babbling about. As Sarada continued to say things, and Ryu assumed that it was babble that he didn't understand, Ryu's body seemed to feel the pull of the sphere getting stronger, even to move a finger. And finally, Sarada's Ohirume Manjikyo Sharingan technique created an explosion as blood poured out of her eyes. But at the same time, Sarada lost consciousness due to chakra depletion. Ryu was defeated along with the Togadama that came out of his body. On the other hand, Ida talks to Koji and Boruto through Koji's toad. Ida gave info if Sarada managed to defeat Ryu thanks to Sarada's new powers. And yeah, this is also of course thanks to Koji. More precisely, the scenario to awaken the greatest potential of Sarada's power, even though the stakes are Yodo's life. But even though Koji thought that it was something good for him, for Ida it was something very bad for Yodo itself because she had to be sacrificed. But underneath it all, Koji thought that it was worth it. Yodo's death made the most important contribution to this outcome. But knowing that Yodo was sacrificed for Sarada, Boruto asks Koji if there is any alternative to keep everyone alive while awakening Sarada's new powers without having to sacrifice anyone's life. But unfortunately, according to Koji, it is something impossible. Even if it was the only way to make everyone safe, Boruto could have helped and saved them. But unfortunately, Sarada will never awaken her new powers. Even the worst possibility would also be unfavorable if Boruto himself would eventually die, because it would trigger Jura to come and kill him. But in conclusion, Koji deliberately did not say that he knew from the beginning that Yodo would eventually die. But Koji didn't want to say that to Boruto, because even if Koji said that, according to Koji, it wouldn't change anything. In other words, this is something ideal for a better future, according to Kashin Koji. But of course, that way, Boruto is suspicious whether Konohamaru will become a victim like Yodo, because after Koji said that Yodo's death was part of his plan, it raised suspicions. With a serious and angry expression, Boruto asks if Konohamaru will be able to defeat Matsuri, but Koji seemed to be silent for a moment, and that made Boruto yell at Koji and told him to answer his question. But instead of answering that question, Koji turned the question back to Boruto. Then what about you, Boruto? Listen carefully. All shinju share senses with Jura. In other words, all the shinju are connected to Jura. If you force yourself to come and help Konohamaru, it will trigger Jura to appear. Jura will even catch you faster than you can say Rasengan, and that means you will die, Boruto. I've seen that future path over and over again. At least, that's what Koji said to Boruto. But with the facts and probabilities that Koji saw, Boruto was just silent and did not give any response. On the other hand, we again see Matsuri very angry because Konohamaru betrayed her. But when Matsuri wanted to kill Konohamaru, it turned out that unexpectedly Boruto came using Hireishin and appeared right behind Matsuri. And in brutal fashion, he slashed the Matsuri to pieces. Koji, who realized Boruto's carelessness, became very panicked because with what Boruto did, Koji assumed that he wanted to destroy everything. And the chapter ends with Jura realizing that finally the person he's been looking for has appeared. And he is Boruto Otsutsuki. I can't say anything but amaze with this chapter. Honestly, I'm not disappointed with what Boruto did, although he indirectly changed the future, but at least he stayed on his ninja path, and that's the real Naruto boy. Other than that, I won't comment much and speculate anything other than waiting for the official chapter to be released on the 20th. So thanks for watching, like and subs. I'm Nim. See you in the next video. Bye bye, Data Bio.